Good evening, everybody. It is December 24th, 2022. It is 4:13 in the evening. Might not be able to see that, but I'm supposed to anyway. So it's a little dark in here. Okay, so this is part 2, chapter 1, Never Would Have Made It, Tyler Perry's. While I sat there taking in the sights, I wondered what my partners might think if they were sitting here. I smiled to myself at the thought because I knew one of them would have had a fit. Let's just say this wouldn't exactly have been his scene. Well, we'll get more into that a little later. As for my other partner, well, she was more like me in that she was willing to do whatever it took to get this project going. So I'm sure she would have sucked it up and dealt with it. As for me, I'd be lying if I told you it was a major problem for me to be sitting in a mansion on Miami Beach, less than 5 feet from a beautiful naked woman. I had been through a few hard times in my life at that point, and I have to be honest, that wasn't one of them. Whatever their response might have been really wouldn't have changed anything. It was like we drew straws to decide who was going to make the trip. I was there because I was the only one crazy enough to do it. It really was that simple. And since this was an opportunity none of us could afford to pass up, here I sat. That was fine by me, though. There is a reason it's called a partnership, and each of us had a role to play. As long as everybody did their job, we would all be successful. Somebody had to do the dirty work, and seeing as neither of them had the resources or the stomach for this kind of thing, it fell to me. The obvious perks aside, I never particularly enjoyed doing this type of business. I just knew that without it, there was no way we'd be able to keep going. We were literally out of options. So to me, it was worth the risk. Thinking of the risk brought my mind back to reality. Believe it or not, I had forgotten why I was there. You could say it was the arrogance of youth that allowed me to have such a cavalier attitude about the whole thing. Or you could say my brain was fired from sitting happily immersed in a cloud, or fried from sitting happily immersed in a cloud of fruit smelling nakedness for too long. Either way, the reality of what I was about to do hadn't set in quite yet, but it was about to. Just act normal, said my host as he walked back into the room and casually tossed a brand new Adidas duffel bag into my lap. The sound of his voice officially snapped me out of what remained of my stupor, and I began focusing on the task at hand. I checked the contents of the bag, and seeing everything was in order, zipped it back up and placed it on the floor in front of me. I didn't know exactly what to do next. I think I was subconsciously waiting for him to give me some final instructions, or maybe even give me official permission to leave with the bag. Whatever the case, it was clear he had already moved on with the rest of his life. He poured himself a glass of orange juice from the bar and sat on the bed next to his girl. The three of us sat in awkward silence for a moment until I stood up to leave. I better get going, I said as I shifted the bag comfortably onto my shoulder. All right, my man, he replied coolly. Have a safe flight. And with that, I was on my way. I was kind of surprised he didn't have anything to say other than act normal. He had to know I had never done this type of thing before. So if there was some secret or proven strategy, I would have thought he'd have passed it on. I guess there really was no secret to pass on, and in his mind, he had said everything he needed to. The rest was up to me. Okay, that is all for this video. Thank you for watching. Have a Merry Christmas Eve, everybody.